we spend most of our time in our working years at work or working on what we're doing. So why would we waste that time just to be able to afford to have fun with the limited time we get on weekends or vacations? This is the Take a Step podcast, where we help faith-driven young men reject complacency and take purposeful action every day. My name's Josh Johnston. Let's take a step. Before we jump into the conversation, I want to give a big shout out to Woodcraft South for sponsoring Take a Step. If there's someone in life that you want to leave an impression on, so if you're in entrepreneurship or sales and you want to impress a top client with a logo engraved gift, or if you want to send a sentimental gift to a spouse like a custom charcuterie board or cutting board, Woodcraft South designs custom woodwork that just captivates your attention. And not only do they deliver amazing work, but it's a brand that's so easy to get behind because Turner Lee, who's the owner, fully embodies the take a step mentality. He spent so long just working behind a desk and building this unfulfilling life. So he started this passion project in woodworking. And a couple years ago, he decided to take the risk and turn this part-time passion into a full-time business that continues to grow to this day. So if there's anyone you want to leave a lasting impression on, or if you just want a custom decor piece to elevate your workspace, you got to check out Woodcraft South. The link to their Instagram will be in the show notes below. Check them out, ask for Turner, and let him know you heard about him from Take a Step. Let's get right into the episode. On this edition of the Weekly Mile, we are covering the path of least resistance. Imagine this. You're offered two options. Option A, a job opportunity making $100,000 with unlimited potential, but you'll have to grow, stretch, and become the man capable of thriving in it. Or option B, a $1 million paycheck today and a capped $100,000 salary for the rest of your career. Which option would you choose? Most people take option B. Why, you might ask? Because it's guaranteed, it's comfortable, no resistance, no risk. But here's the truth. 2 or 3 years later, they're right back where they started. Maybe in a nicer house, maybe with a new car or two, but still dreading that drive into work. No fire, no fulfillment, just another man living for the weekend. Now, me personally, I've been around countless people that embody this lifestyle, and especially this mindset around their work, where they show up, they clock in, get the work done, they have no passion about what they're doing, but they're working so that every 2 weeks they can come home with a paycheck that allows them to live the life they want on the weekends and maybe, use it on some of their limited vacation time that they already get. But I look at that and I say, what kind of fulfillment out of a life is that? We spend most of our time in our working years at work or working on what we're doing. So why would we waste that time just to be able to afford to have fun with the limited time we get on weekends or vacations? And I think about that, and I firmly think the reason is because, the work that's not fulfilling is just fulfilling orders. It's doing a process that someone else assigns to you. It doesn't take really having to stretch yourself and learn and grow and hold yourself accountable to actually doing and following through on the work that you need to do, because those are the type of roles where you have unlimited potential for what you can accomplish. But it's the roles of just kind of fulfilling the tasks that's easy. You show up, you do what you're told, and you leave and you get paid for it. The world has trained us to chase easy wins and avoid anything that feels uncomfortable. And that mindset is everywhere, in our work, our relationships, our health, even our faith. We want quick results without the grind. But here's the uncomfortable truth. If you do what everyone else does, you're going to get what everyone else gets. Normal. Or better put, mediocrity. Now, I think it's important to kind of zoom out and really look at what is normal, especially in the world we live in, or even in the country we live in the United States. What is normal? And here are some statistics to show you what is normal. When it comes to depression, at least 30% of adults in the U.S. today claim to have experienced depression in their lives. The divorce rate, about 50% of couples that get married end up in a divorce. And then when it comes to our health, what's normal? What's mediocre when it comes to our health? Well, in 2023, the CDC found that at least 75% of adults in the U.S. today are either overweight or obese. So you just take a look at those numbers and you say, why in the world would I choose to be normal? Or would I choose to do what everyone else is doing? Because obviously the results that come from that are not a life that I would desire personally. And I would imagine that those that are listening to this podcast don't desire those numbers either. Jesus said it best in Matthew chapter 7, verses 13 and 14. He said, enter by the narrow gate. For wide is the gate and broad is the way that leads to destruction, and there are many who go by it. Because narrow is the gate and difficult is the way which leads to life, and there are few who find it. We hear a few very important concepts brought up by Jesus in these verses. Number one, many will choose the broad way because it's easy. Number two, few will choose the narrow way because it's difficult. And then number three, difficult is the way that leads to life. Now, I'll elaborate on this a little bit because there's something I've experienced, and some of you may have experienced this as well. But when you start changing the decisions that you're making to align more with these narrow way decisions that Jesus is talking about and avoiding the broad way, a lot of the relationships that you once had that were in line with the decisions you were making when you were choosing what's normal, when you were choosing the way of the world, when you start changing those decisions, those relationships that you have will naturally kind of dwindle and kind of fade away. And that's not to say you have to cut ties or anything like that, but your interests change, right? So when that time comes, there's a period where those relationships start to fade away a little bit, but you haven't yet formed relationships with people that are in line with your new way of thinking and your new way of acting. So there's this period where honestly, it can get lonely. And to add to the difficulty of making decisions that are different than the way of the world, you pair in this component of kind of the lonely nature of that period of time, and that's what makes it truly so difficult. And this is where having those values and those qualities of persistence and perseverance and discipline are so important, because as Jesus says in verse 14 in Matthew chapter 7, he says, difficult is the way which leads to life, and there are few who find it. That's the path you're called to take, not the one everyone else is on, not the one that feels safe, quick, or easy. The narrow way requires something of you. It demands growth. It tests your faith. But it's also the path where purpose is forged, where by focusing on the process, you can become who God created you to be. Deny the path of least resistance, the broad way, and choose what Jesus tells us will be difficult, but it's the path that leads to life. Choose the narrow way. Here are 3 questions to take and do some strategic reflection, and hopefully it'll trigger some action to be taken. Number 1, where have you been choosing what's easy versus what's difficult? Number 2, why have you been avoiding what's difficult? And then number 3, what's one step you can take today to initiate momentum towards what's difficult that will be beneficial down the road? Thank you guys for listening to another episode of the Take a Step podcast. If you enjoyed it, guys, I'd love it if you leave a rating or a review on whichever platform you're listening. And if you find value out of this and you know someone that will as well, please share it to them. Send them a text message, post it to your story, whatever you think will help people to hear the message so that they can really start pursuing what's difficult and pursuing what's challenging for them so that they can find the path that leads to life. Please share this message. And then lastly, the Tribe community is launching this summer. So if you or someone you know is a faith-driven young man in your 20s or 30s and wants to join a community of young guys that are committed to taking action on their personal growth, you can either join the wait list using the link in the description below or check out letstakeastep.com, and you can find all the details there. So no matter where you are on your growth journey, every mile begins with a step. We'll talk to you in the next episode.